Boom.
Biddly, biddly, biddly bow. Yes, yes, yo. Here we go. Got some shout-outs to do, got some talking to do, got plenty to rattle through, but before we do that, you know what time it is. Get that badger in and on and over here. He's in, he's on, he's over, he's here. Ain't nobody down round here. Game last night, we're going to touch on, there's fair things to rattle through. I just want to do a quick shout-out to Bob Hope, who is the nicest woman I've ever met in my whole life. Shout out to Wendy on a serious note, and shout out to Nikki for making me feel so very welcome. Got the scarf on the hip-hop. On the hip-hop-opotamus over there, got the scarf. Got all the memorabilia on the back. So yes, shout out to Bob Hope, especially Bob Hope. But shout out to Wendy and Nicola. And shout out to Julie, who I didn't meet, but I'm sure she's lovely. So thank you for the ticket. It was tremendous. Work was an uphill battle when I got there due to the fact I was a bit slushed. But I made it. And we're here now. We're in, we're on, we're over, we're off. So the game last night, they're now 20 games, I think, unbeaten at home. So, you know, we knew they were a decent side going into it. I thought Coventry had put up more of a fight on Saturday. So I think Norwich gave a bit of what Coventry perhaps I thought Coventry would. Norwich got into the playoffs last year, as we know. We hammered them in semi-finals. We'll probably look back at this overall as a good point, depending on obviously where we finish. I think it's likely that it will be a good point. I don't really like the fact I felt like we had Farke made some statements at the end about substitutions, which we'll talk about in a minute, but he sort of explained a few of the subs, and I think it was more with a view for, you know, looking at the game on Friday, which I don't particularly like the thought of doing. I don't like waiting for another game, but as I say, looking back over a long season, it's probably going to be a decent result. The reason why I don't like it is it's a total brand new game on Friday. It could go totally Pete Tong, couldn't it? It could go tits up. And then you're sort of like preying on, you know, you detected then 3 points. I thought it was there for taking, basically. I thought it got quite sloppy towards end. I thought, and then we got sloppy. The subs ruined the rigidity to the team a little bit. We got a bit all over the shop. The Gruev injury doesn't look good, and Farke Fucker has sort of mentioned that, you know, it'll have to be assessed. It doesn't look good. Just Joe mentioned that he was sort of rubbing his knee, similar to Ampadu style, where he had to go down a couple of times, which is obviously, you know, Ampadu's out till December now, best. We do look pretty depleted. The bench looked pretty light, but that's obviously we've got a lot of players out. A lot of people are asking why Schmidt wasn't there, but obviously not seen either my video or anybody else's videos or the actual press conference. He was out injured. I just want to touch on the penalty, obviously, because that was a big moment in the game, evidently. Probably the only proper decent chance they created in any sense. There was some talk that, you know, the striker's done really well. What's it called? Sargent, or whatever, to cut it back on his foot. I cannot understand what Rodon is doing. And then he literally gives the ref the pen. He goes into a crazy tackle, and then before the refs even give it, he turns around and puts his arms up to the ref like, you know, I didn't touch him. And it's like you're just giving the penalty at that point. Why Rodon hasn't gone in? He can go to ground as much as he wants. We were talking about this last night on Just Joe, and everybody's saying he can't go to ground. Well, I think he can go to ground as much as he wants, but he has to be 2 yards away from the player. If he's going to block the ball, the reason why I don't think he's going to block the ball is he never ends up touching the player if he's just going to block the ball. If he's anticipating a strike and he's a yard away from the strike, he's more likely of blocking that ball than he is going and winning the tackle. If he goes to win the tackle, he ends up wiping him out. The reason why he wipes him out is he goes to win the tackle. Then when he realises Sargent's done him, he dangles his leg in. He actually moves his leg slightly to the right to go and dangle it in. He clips it in, and then he makes it easy for Sargent to do what he's doing. Just either block the ball or just go sliding off the pitch. Just get you've at that point, you know, if you're gonna go to ground, which I don't suggest ever in the box, but if you're gonna, just stay well away from player, and then he'll if he's anticipating you're closer than he actually is, he'll fall over and make himself look a fool. So just go to block the ball. Meslier Santos on the penalty, it's obviously worth touching on. A lot of people giving him loads of shit for. It does look bad. I think it looks terrible. I think he puts his weight onto his other side, whatever side it was, right to go left or whatever. And then the penalty is quite close to him, evidently. It struck quite firmly. I'll get called a Meslier Santos apologist, but I think if he actually just dives the wrong way, nobody says anything. It's because he sort of tries to get back, and it looks like he sort of dolphin jumps over the top of the ball, which is not a good look by any means necessary. I think comparing it to the Gnonto penalty, however, is strong. Everybody was going wild about the ref, and I didn't think the ref was good. I thought that Brozier guy got away with murder. Borgia says, whatever he called that tackle on Harrison that wasn't a tackle. He just literally just wiped him out on the halfway line. It was a definite yellow, especially when I think he just booked through it 2 minutes beforehand, which I thought that was a soft and poor booking. I wanted to see a little bit more nastiness because Norwich sort of brought it in first half, and it's not necessarily just nastiness going into a tackle, but I just want us to jump up out of tackles a little bit more, not be so soft, like rolling around on the floor when we're definitely all right. Gnonto did it a bit, Joseph did it a bit. I thought Gnonto were excellent yesterday though, so that's not a blight on his performance. I thought he were everywhere and he was looking to affect the game as much as he possibly could. But yeah, just jumping up out of tackles a little bit more when you get smashed into a bit. Firpo did it. It's just like, I know you're going to get up in a minute, unless you're badly hurt, obviously, stay down. But there's a thing about winning the free kick or not winning the free. The ref can't give it, pop back up, go and get him next time. It's like, I felt like when the right back went in on Firpo, I felt like Bogle had an opportunity to do that probably about 10 minutes later, and he hesitated, and then the lad ended up running directly at him. It was quite a threatening attack. I don't know I think it led to a shot or something in the first half, but I just thought, just go and get him at that point. And I'm not on about just flying in like a knob and going and really trying to hurt somebody. I'm talking about going and winning a tackle like that right back did, just making a big tackle. In comparison, the Gnonto penalty, although the ref was shit, the Gnonto penalty would have been extremely soft. I know everybody's going to go crazy about that and say that it's a certain penalty. I'm kind of bored of moaning about the refs. My point with moaning about the refs, which I tried to make yesterday on Just Joe's show, but the reason why I don't want to be moaning about the refs is we've got too much possession. JT made an outlandish point where we've got all this possession, we don't create enough big chances and stuff. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think he was also saying that we're vulnerable on the counter-attack. I don't agree with that either. But to his point slightly, when we've got all this possession, all this key possession, pushing forward, pressing, I am bored of then relying on the ref to get a result. It's so stupid to me. It's like, if you've got all the possession, you should be doing more, you should be creating more than if you're going to whinge about the ref. Just leave the ref. It's not like your Man City away and you finally had a break on goal and there's a blatant penalty. The Gnonto penalty is probably a penalty, but I think it's soft. I think Gnonto makes a lot of it. I think if he probably makes less of it, he's got more of a chance. Aronson's also got a pretty big chance off that ball from Gnonto. So I just think, just hit the target with that and then let's worry about what the ref's doing. There's plenty of stuff we can do in the meantime. But in terms of the finish from Ramazani, I thought that was excellent. He looks like he's got a proper eye for goal, doesn't he? He looks really composed. He struck it really well, didn't even leave the ground. It was like, and he zipped it in. It's a mint turn from Gnonto. Willie slid it in. And then Ramazani slams it home. So, and ironically, the commentator had just said that, we're not really getting him behind. Speaking of getting him behind, Joseph's got quite a lot of stick. He didn't get a single chance yesterday, didn't Joseph, to be fair. But I do think he takes himself quite serious. He was stood in front of Ellen Road Cop other week, staring at the goal. And I just thought, just steady on. Then he had that massive miss. He went over to Mesde, Silent S, and gave him some advice for the penalty, which didn't look like it worked too well. Bamford obviously coming on. By the way, on Joseph, he doesn't deserve this stick at the moment. Certainly not. He's not getting any goals. He's got one this season, but he's providing plenty. And there is a lot of scraps to work on, which I've said about Lord Bamford for a long, long time, and nobody likes to hear it. But it's just a matter of fact. It's what you get when you're number 9 at Ellen Road at Leeds United. Sometimes most of the time it's very difficult. The subs were a bit perplexing. It took the sting out of the game. There was also, as I say, Faki Fucker did sort of mention that a lot of players were exhausted. Gnonto was extremely tired. He was going to bring Ramazani off at 60 minutes. They thought he only had 60 minutes in him, apparently, but after the goal, I thought that might be a chance for him to build momentum and stuff. Rothwell and Tanaka, I felt, sorted it out eventually in the centre midfield. It were a little bit messy. There were a lot of gaps in there. There's a lot of things, a lot of positives to take from the game. I thought we controlled large portion of the game, and Norwich will be in and around playoffs this year. It's a decent point. Let's look back at the end of the season to look at Friday night, there's a big game now. Sunderland, that will be a tough test. We can potentially go top at league. We're right bang in there. We could have gone top at league had results gone us way last night and we win, which is the most important thing. I'm not bothered about the table right now, having said that. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the game? Let us know. Like, subscribe, do all that stuff. We're back, baby.
Boom.
JackCity, bitch. JackCity, bitch. Hey!
I don't wanna play no games. No, I don't wanna play no games. No, I don't wanna hear your promises. You do you and I'll do me. That's just the way it is. Don't wanna ever feel surprised. That's why I ask.